Hello everyone, this is Mini Ninja speaking, and as of late, I've wasted a bit too much money on a series of bootleg figures which have absolutely not worked, and in fact, have been injurious to my body. Namely, the Legend creation takes on Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, and Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta have been disappointing to be mildly blunt on the matter, and I want to see if I can at least salvage something for the money spent. As you probably guessed from the silhouette, yes, we're going to be attempting to make something that'll be at least a slightly presentable Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta to kind of fill in the gap until an official one shows up down the line eventually. For the main body, we're going to be using Goku for the most part, on account that his figure was overall the most functional of the lot, not to mention that the overall size as well as proportion for everything, as well as the various bits and pieces like the legs and such, are close enough to the end figure result that it'll be just easiest to start working with him. That being said, I am having to grab a lot of bits and pieces for the other figures, namely for the arms. It's both Goku and Vegeta's to fix the various bicep issues, because the arms on neither figure had a fully working set. So we're kind of working around as best we can in order to get something to actually make it stay in place. In terms of legs though, those are strictly stock Goku because they're close enough. For the belt, well, the Gogeta belt does already have the hoop and everything built in for little sash bits. The belt is too small, so I actually have to transplant those little bits onto the Goku one, which will actually fit on the body properly. That being said, for some easy things to add on from the Gogeta figure, the little shoulder bits, which are kind of the ends of the vest, will be able to just go into place once I drill a nice little hole in the shoulders, and they should stick in place. And surprisingly enough, the vest bit from Gogeta was its own separate piece. So I did manage to pull it off the Gogeta bootleg, and once I do a little bit of modification, it should be able to work on there. Namely, the modification I need to make is that the vest is too small. The official one is too small, and this one is actually smaller than that. So I'm going to end up taking some notes from JPDB Customs. I'll link to his relevant video in the description here, by the way, on how he went about modifying the real vest in order to fit around the much larger Goku torso, which I'll kind of do my best to use the fake vest and fit it on this rubbish Goku body that I have here. The last and honestly most difficult bit of work I need to do is to modify Goku's hair in order to make it into Gogeta's, which basically involves cutting parts off and using a lot of epoxy sculpt to remake the various masses and clumps of hair. Now, at this point, this is a quick test fit of the new vest that is being put on there, which, in order to get it to fit on this particular body, I had to make a few cuts. Namely, I cut the whole thing down the back in order to figure out how much I need to stretch it around the back in order to fit on this particular bootleg, as well as make some cuts underneath the arms because how small it was actually prevented the butterfly joints from moving properly, as well as just fitting the arms in there, period. So I'm making a few various changes as we go along. Now, as you can see, this is my first attempt in order to extend the vest, which itself is a bunch of 1mm brass rods, which technically do the job, although I will just tell you a mistake that I made at this point in forgetting to curve the wires to fit properly around the round of Goku's back. So I need to fix that later, which I'll explain what I'm going to do at the time. Well, you'll see it for yourself, really. Now, to get around to the hair, I remembered I had a hot knife, folks. So, once we plug that in and let it warm for a minute, basically we just cut the top clumps off, and we're using those little bits as a base, using some more 1mm wire in order to kind of work as a starting armature point of sorts in order to get the hair in place. And once we have that, we take a lid of epoxy sculpt and start mixing it together. Now, for those that aren't familiar with epoxy sculpt it's basically a two-part sculpting compound that gives you a rather generous working time of quite a few hours and hardens to a nice solid finish as long as you mix it in correctly, which is something that does come up a little bit later, to be totally honest. That being said, it tends to be very sticky for the first half hour to an hour, sticking to both the substance you're trying to add it onto as well as your tools and your fingers alike. So you really want to keep something with either a little bit of water or their own provided or sold sculpting compound, or safety solvent I should say, in order to help kind of clean up your tools and make it easier to both blend as well as keep it from sticking to you when you're trying to work. Now, as you can kind of see, there's a little bit of footage here. The belt transplant is already done. It's already onto the new belt. Everything worked just fine there. I believe at this point this is where I left off for some of my early update progress, which I showed on Twitter and Instagram, which, by the way, those are always in the description as well, just so you're aware. Basically just a quick test fitting of various parts, as well as the first really untouched hair edition on that one, which you can see by this next bit is already cleaned up a bit with some various bits of using the X-Acto knife, as well as sanding sticks and sanding paper in general. All in all, though, I am actually having a lot of fun with the sculpting process. The only caveat is it does require a lot of timing between these sessions because of the drying time. Basically, you need at least, I'm going to say, about 8 or so hours before the material really hardens enough that you can kind of carve and sand at it safely, and a full 24 hours of cure. But, honestly, once you get to the point, it's nice and solid to work with and cleans up real nice. As long as you do it properly, which in this particular vid, I'm just showing you right now because the hair additions that I did on this one, I had to scrape a lot of that stuff off because I didn't mix the material in correctly, and it never cured properly. So yeah, bit of a snafu there, waste of a day on that one, but that's been no really real big hiccup, I would say. Other than that, we're getting somewhere. This is today's current thing as of this recording. Still some gapping I need to fix in there so the bangs kind of mesh in together, but all in all, we're doing alright. Hopefully next time we'll be looking at finalizing that little gapping there and starting to really etch in the details there and getting to some paint, I hope. But for now, thanks for watching. Catch you all next time.